High above, when the night sky stretches clear, a cluster of stars shines brightly together. To many, it is known as the Pleiades, but to the first peoples of Australia, it is the story of the Seven Sisters, ancestral women whose journey across the heavens is told in song, dance, and story. Long ago, the Seven Sisters lived upon the earth. They were radiant and graceful, carrying with them the laws of womanhood, ceremony, and care for the land. Wherever they traveled, they taught songs and dances, showing the people how to live in harmony. But their beauty and strength also drew the gaze of a powerful ancestral spirit. The hunter, often linked to the star we call Orion. The hunter desired the sisters, chasing them endlessly across plains and valleys. The sisters, refusing him, fled again and again, their footsteps carving pathways into the earth. They leaped into caves, climbed mountains, and crossed rivers. But still he pursued. At last, to escape him, they rose into the sky, where their light could be safe and eternal. There, they became the Seven Sisters constellation, glowing together in the heavens. The hunter, too, rose into the sky, forever chasing them across the night. The stars trace their story even now. The sisters clustered tightly, the hunter following close behind. It is a story of resilience, reminding all of the strength of women and the eternal struggle for freedom. The Seven Sisters are not only a tale of the stars, but also a calendar and guide. When they rise in the east before dawn, it marks the changing of seasons, signaling times for hunting and gathering. Their journey across the sky shapes ceremonies and song lines, weaving the rhythms of heaven into the rhythms of the earth. Elders share the story by firelight, their voices steady as they point to the glowing cluster above. They tell children, "The sisters watch over you." Their light is a reminder that no one walks alone, and no one is without strength. The dances and songs that accompany the story are performed to keep the dreaming alive, binding the people to the land and the stars. The hunter never catches the sisters. His chase continues across eternity, his star burning in pursuit, their clusters shining in defiance. The story teaches endurance, courage, and the eternal bond of family. It is a reminder that even in the vastness of the cosmos, the struggles of life, love, desire, resistance, and resilience are written in the stars. As you drift into sleep tonight, imagine the clear night sky above you. The Seven Sisters sparkle together, their light soft and protective. While the hunter lingers just behind, unable to reach them, their story whispers across the ages. You, too, carry light, and with unity and courage, it will never fade. The eternal dreaming, balance between people, land, and spirit in every Dreamtime story, whether of the rainbow serpent, Tiddalik, the frog, the Wangina, or the Seven Sisters, there is one thread that ties them together: the law of balance. To the first peoples, the world is not separate from them. The land, the animals, the rivers, and the sky are all connected. To live well is to honor that connection, to walk gently within the dreaming. The dreaming is not just the past. It is not only about how the world was formed long ago, it is also the present and the future, flowing together in one endless cycle. Every action, every word, every step taken on the land becomes part of the dreaming. To forget this truth is to lose harmony. To remember it is to live in peace. The people knew that the land provided food, water, shelter, and spirit. But these gifts were not free to take without thought. Each animal, each tree, each stone carried a story, a law, and a spirit. To hunt was not just to eat, but to honor the animal's sacrifice. To light a fire was not just to cook, but to remember the birds who first carried flame. To look at the stars was not just to wonder, but to recall the journeys of the ancestors written in the heavens. Ceremonies kept this balance alive. Songs were sung to call the rains, dances performed to honor the spirits, and stories told to guide the young. Through these traditions, the dreaming was not forgotten, but lived, breathing in each new generation. Elders carried the stories like sacred fire, passing them down so the flame of knowledge would never fade. The Dreamtime also taught responsibility. If the land was harmed, if greed replaced gratitude, the balance would break. Droughts, floods, and hardship would follow, not as punishment, but as reminders that harmony must be restored. Just as the rainbow serpent gave water, but demanded respect, so too did the earth ask for care and reverence. Even today, these teachings remain. To listen to the wind, to watch the sky, to walk with humility upon the earth. These are ways of honoring the dreaming. The stories are not locked in the past. They live in every sunrise, every river's song, every shadow cast by the stars above. As you rest tonight, imagine lying on the earth itself, feeling its heartbeat beneath you. Above, the stars shimmer with the stories of the ancestors. Around you, the land breathes, rivers flowing, trees whispering, fire crackling softly. The dreaming surrounds you, timeless and eternal. It's reminding you that you are part of this sacred balance. The dreaming whispers, walk gently. Honor the land, respect the spirits, and live with gratitude. For in balance, there is peace, and in peace, the dreaming lives on forever. In the earliest days of the Dreamtime, the world lay in endless darkness. The land stretched wide, the seas rolled silently, and the animals moved slowly, unsure of their place. Without light, there were no shadows, no warmth, no colors, only the cool, heavy cloak of night. The ancestral beings walked the earth, shaping rivers and mountains, but even they felt the weight of darkness. They longed for light, for a fire that would wake the world, for a warmth that would bring life to every corner of the land. Yet no such light existed. One story tells that the first spark of light was hidden deep within a great sacred fire, guarded by spirit beings high in the sky. The earth's creatures could not reach it, and so they lived in the long night dreaming of dawn. But among them were clever ones, birds who believed they could bring fire to the land below. The magpie was the first to try. With a bold flap of wings, it flew higher and higher, straining toward the fire above. The heat burned its wings black and white, leaving the markings it still carries today. But from its efforts, sparks fell, glowing faintly in the dark sky. Those sparks became the first stars, tiny lights to guide the creatures of the night. Still, the people longed for more than starlight. At last, a group of ancestral beings came together and decided to lift the great ball of fire into the sky. They pushed and pushed until the fire rose above the horizon. And then, for the first time, the sun was born. The world awoke in wonder. The seas shimmered gold, the trees glowed green, and the sky blazed with colors never before seen. Animals stretched and leaped in joy, birds filled the air with song, people danced upon the earth, feeling warmth on their skin. The first sunrise was more than light. It was a gift of life, a promise that the world would no longer sleep in shadow. Yet the sun's journey was not endless. Each day it crossed the sky, then dipped below the horizon, leaving the world in darkness again. But this darkness was no longer eternal. It was a pause, a time for rest, before the sun returned at dawn. From this cycle came the rhythm of life. Day for work and song, night for rest and dreams, to this day. People remember the magpie's gift, its wings marked by the fire, and they honor the first sunrise in songs and ceremonies. The sun is more than a star. It is a spirit, a guardian of warmth, a daily reminder of the Dreamtime's eternal cycle of light and shadow as you drift into dreams tonight. Imagine the first rays of dawn spilling across the land, painting the sky with fire and gold. Feel the warmth of the sun on your skin, the joy of the animals, the song of the birds. The sunrise whispers, light will always return, and with it, hope, the cleverman, and the healing spirit ends the dream time. Wisdom was as precious as water, and those who carried it were honored among their people. These were the clevermen, men who could walk between the world of the living and the world of spirits. Guided by ancestors, they healed the sick, protected the land, reminded their people of the laws that held all life in balance. One such cleverman was known across the plains for his gift. He could hear the whispers of the wind and understand the language of the animals. When he placed his hands upon the earth, he felt the pulse of the land as though it were a living heartbeat. But above all, he carried within him the power to call upon the healing spirits. When someone in the tribe grew sick, the people turned to him. He sat beside the ill, painting his body with sacred ochre, each line and symbol a path for the spirits to follow. Then he would sing softly, his voice low and steady, carrying the song lines of his ancestors. In the stillness, shimmering figures appeared, the healing spirits glowing like moonlight upon water. They moved gently, touching the sick with hands of light, chasing away the shadows that clung to the body. The cleverman was not only a healer of flesh but of spirit. If a person's heart grew heavy with grief, or if they wandered from the law, he guided them back with words and ceremony. He taught that illness was not always of the body alone. Sometimes it was born from forgetting respect for the land, the people, or the spirits. Healing then meant restoring harmony in all things. One story tells of a young hunter who grew weak and pale. No food or rest could cure him. The cleverman listened and soon discovered that the hunter had crossed into sacred land without offering respect. The healing spirits could not reach him until he made amends. So the cleverman led him to the place where they sang and gave offerings. Only then did the hunter's strength return, flowing back into him like water filling a dry stream. The cleverman's work was not his alone. He carried the knowledge passed down through countless generations. From elder to apprentice, each learning the songs, the laws, and the ways of the spirits. His power was not in dominance, but in service, serving the people, serving the land, serving the dreaming, even today. The stories of the clevermen remind us that true healing is not only about the body, but also the spirit, community, and the earth itself. To live well is to live in balance, for health is harmony. As you rest tonight, imagine the cleverman sitting in the glow of a fire, painted in ochre, singing softly into the night. Around him, spirits shimmer like stars, moving gently, healing, restoring. The fire crackles, the earth breathes, and your heart feels light. The cleverman whispers, healing is found in balance, and balance is the law of all things. In the far north of Australia, where clouds gather heavy and rains fall in torrents, the people tell of the Wangina, powerful spirit beings who shaped the land, brought the laws of life, and remain as eternal guardians of water and rain. Their presence is so sacred that their images are painted on cave walls. Watching silently over country for thousands of years, the Dreamtime tells us that the Wangina came down from the sky when the earth was young. They walked across the land, carving rivers with their footsteps and raising hills with their hands. Where they rested, waterholes appeared, filled with cool, life-giving rain. With each act, they brought not only the land into being, but also the laws that would guide people, how to live together, how to care for the earth, and how to honor the balance of all things. The Wangina were unlike any other beings. Their faces were round and white, their eyes wide and dark, and their mouths small or absent. for they did not need words to command respect. Lightning flashed from their eyes, thunder rolled from their presence, and rain followed wherever they walked. They were the cloud bringers, the rainmakers, and without them, the land would wither. When their work on earth was complete, the Wandjina did not die. Instead, they entered the rocks and caves, leaving behind their images as eternal guardians. Painted in bold strokes of white, red, and black, their figures cover the walls of sacred sites to this day. These paintings are not art alone, but living beings, embodiments of the Wandjina themselves. To stand before them is to stand before the spirits, to feel their watchful eyes upon you. The people hold deep respect for the Wandjina. Each year, ceremonies are performed to renew the paintings, refreshing their power, and to honor the spirits so that rains will come. For if the Wandjina are forgotten, if the laws are broken, the clouds may not gather, and drought may grip the land. In this way, the spirits teach responsibility, that care for country is not only survival, but sacred duty. Stories tell of how the Wandjina still move in the skies. Cloaked in clouds, their breath, the mist, their tears, the rain. Thunder is their voice, reminding people of their presence. And when lightning strikes, it is said to be the Wandjina, renewing the world with their power. As you drift to sleep tonight, imagine standing in a cool cave, torchlight flickering across the painted figures of the Wandjina. Their great eyes gaze out, calm yet commanding, their presence heavy with wisdom. Outside, the rains fall softly, filling the rivers and streams, life returning to the land. The Wandjina whisper, "Care for the earth, honor the laws, and we will walk with you in every storm and every drop of rain." The creation of Uluru, battle of the ancestral beings. In the heart of Australia stands a giant red rock, glowing with the colors of sunrise and sunset. To many it is known as Uluru, but to the First Peoples it is more than stone. It is a living story, carved by the battles and journeys of the Dreamtime beings whose actions shaped its form. Long ago, in the dreaming, the land around Uluru was flat and empty. Then came the ancestral beings, great spirits of animals and people, each with their own powers and laws. But not all of them lived in peace. Some sought harmony, while others brought conflict. And it was in these struggles that Uluru was born. One story tells of a great battle between two serpent spirits. One, the Kunya Python woman, came carrying the law of kindness and ceremony. The other, a venomous snake, sought only destruction. Their fight was fierce, shaking the land itself. The python struck with her coils, the venomous snake lashed with fangs, and their blows left deep scars across the stone. Even today, the ridges and cracks of Uluru are said to mark the wounds of their battle. Another tale speaks of the Mala people, ancestral beings who prepared a sacred ceremony at Uluru, but they were attacked by rival spirits who sought to disrupt their law. The Mala fled, leaving their footsteps carved into the rock's surface, and their cries echo still in the wind. The caves around Uluru hold their stories, each marking where these ancient struggles unfolded. The surface of Uluru is alive with these marks, curves that trace the bodies of serpents, pits that mark the strikes of spears, caves that hold the shadows of ancestors. To walk around it is to read a book of stone, each feature carrying a story, each line etched by the Dreamtime. But Uluru is not only a record of conflict, it is also a place of deep teaching. The struggles that shaped it remind people of the laws of respect, balance, and ceremony. They teach that violence leaves scars, but ceremony and song restore harmony. The ancestral beings may have battled, but they also left behind lessons for all who live on the land. For generations, Elders have gathered at Uluru, sharing these stories with their children beneath the glowing rock. Songs rise in the air, dances retell the battles, and the Dreamtime lives on. To this day, the rock is sacred, a living being in its own right, carrying the memory of creation and law. As you close your eyes tonight, imagine standing at the base of Uluru at dusk. The rock glows deep red, as if the fires of the Dreamtime still burn within it. The wind whispers of battles fought and lessons learned. The scars on the stone are not wounds alone, but teachings etched forever into the earth. Uluru whispers, "The land remembers, and through its stories, so must we." When night falls in the wide-open lands of Australia, the sky stretches vast and unbroken, a canvas filled with stars. But among those countless points of light lies something greater, a story written not in stars, but in the darkness between them. The people call it the emu in the sky. Look closely at the Milky Way on a clear night. The glowing river of starlight winds across the heavens, but within it, dark patches form the shape of an enormous bird. Its head rests near the Southern Cross, and its long body stretches across the sky. This is the great emu, ancestor spirit of the Dreamtime, forever soaring above. Long ago, the emu walked the earth. She was strong and swift, with feathers that gleamed under the sun. But she was also proud, and her steps carried the rhythm of creation. As she moved, she shaped the land, her footprints formed valleys, her sweeping feathers carved plains. When she rose into the sky, her spirit left its shadow among the stars, so her people would never forget her. The emu in the sky is more than a constellation. It is a calendar, a guide for life. When the emu's form lies across the heavens with its head low, it signals the time when real emus lay their eggs. The people know then to gather carefully, taking only what they need, leaving enough to ensure the emus thrive. When the emu stretches differently, it marks the change of seasons, guiding, planting, hunting, and ceremony. Elders tell their children, "The stars give us light, but the darkness gives us stories." For in the spaces between, the ancestors hide their teachings. The emu in the sky is one of the greatest, reminding all to live in harmony with the cycles of nature. Some stories say the emu still watches, guarding the laws of balance. If people take too much, if they forget respect for the land, the emu shifts in the sky, warning of leaner times to come. Her presence is both a gift and a warning. Abundance is possible, but only with care. Gathered around campfires, families lift their eyes to the Milky Way, pointing to the dark bird spread across the stars. They tell of her power, her wisdom, and her eternal journey. And as the night deepens, the emu seems to move, as if walking endlessly across the heavens, carrying the memory of Dreamtime with her. As you drift to sleep tonight, imagine lying on soft earth, looking up at the sky. The Milky Way glows above you, and in its dark swirls, the great emu stretches her wings. Her shadow watches over the land, guiding hunters, guarding balance, and reminding you that even in darkness, stories shine. The emu in the sky whispers, "The earth and the heavens are one, and their patterns live within us all." The origin of fire, how the birds shared the flame in the Dreamtime. The world was dark and cold. Nights stretched long and chilly, and the people had no fire to warm themselves, no flame to cook their food or light their ceremonies. Only one creature held the secret of fire, the greedy firebird. The firebird guarded the flame fiercely, carrying it in her nest high on a rocky cliff. Its glow lit her feathers a fiery red, and she refused to share it with anyone. When other birds begged for warmth, she turned them away. When people shivered in the cold nights, she laughed, keeping the flame for herself. But the world could not remain dark forever. The other birds gathered and decided to act. If they could take even a spark from the firebird, they could bring warmth and life to all. They planned together, each offering their gifts of courage and cunning. First came the hawk, swift and bold. He soared high, circling the firebird's nest. But the firebird screeched and drove him away with her blazing wings. Next came the owl, who crept silently in the night. Yet the firebird's glow lit the darkness, and she saw him coming. Then came the cockatoo, clever and daring. He distracted the firebird with a wild dance, flapping and squawking noisily. While she hissed and chased him, the little dove slipped quietly into her nest. With a quick peck, the dove caught a burning twig in her beak and flew down to the waiting animals. The firebird shrieked in fury, but it was too late. The flame had been stolen, its light shared with the people and creatures of the earth. They fed it with dry wood, and soon the fire grew, crackling and glowing, sending sparks into the night sky. For the first time, warmth filled the camps, food was cooked, and stories were told by firelight. But the firebird's anger left its mark. As she tried to snatch back the flames, sparks scorched her feathers, leaving them forever red. The cockatoo, too, was marked by smoke, his crest stained yellow by the heat. And the little dove, once plain, was honored as the bringer of light, her soft coos forever echoing the joy of that gift. From then on, fire belonged to everyone, not just to one greedy bird. It became a sacred gift, to be respected and cared for. People learned to keep it alive, to pass it carefully, and to use it with gratitude. As you close your eyes tonight, imagine the first fire flickering in the darkness. Flames dancing high, sparks drifting into the sky like stars. Feel the warmth on your skin, hear the crackle of wood, and know the gift of fire, born of courage, sharing, and unity. The story whispers, even the smallest bird can carry the greatest light, and what is shared brings life to all. In the time before time, when the world was still and empty, the earth lay flat and silent. There were no rivers, no mountains, no trees, and no life to break the stillness. The sky was endless and quiet, the land bare and dry, but deep beneath the surface, in the heart of the earth, something stirred. A great being of light and color twisted in sleep, the rainbow serpent. For countless ages, the serpent slumbered, curled within the darkness. Then one day it awoke. With a mighty stretch, it broke through the earth, rising in a shimmering arc that touched both land and sky. Its scales glowed with every color, flashing red, green, gold, and blue. As it moved, the world began to change. Where the rainbow serpent slithered, great valleys were carved into the land. Its heavy body pressed deep furrows that became rivers and creeks. Where it coiled, mountains rose, their peaks sharp against the sky. As it wound across the earth, it left behind billabongs and water holes, filling the dry land with life-giving water. The rains followed in its path, filling the rivers and lakes. Soon plants sprouted, covering the bare ground in shades of green. Trees lifted their branches, grasses spread wide, and flowers blossomed in the serpent's wake. Birds took to the skies, animals leapt from the soil, and fish darted through the new rivers. The silent land had awakened. The rainbow serpent was not only a creator, but also a keeper of law. It gave each creature a place and purpose. Kangaroos were to roam the plains, emus to stride across the open lands, and birds to sing the morning into being. To the people, the serpent gave rules for living. Respect the water. Honor the land, and live in harmony with all things. Yet the serpent was also powerful and fierce. It could bless the land with rains, but it could also punish with droughts if its laws were broken. Those who disrespected the waters or took more than they needed were said to anger the rainbow serpent, and storms would follow. In this way, it taught balance, reminding all that life was a gift, not to be taken lightly. Generations passed, and the story of the rainbow serpent was carried in song and dance, in carvings and paintings across sacred rocks. Even today, its image can be seen in flowing patterns of dots and lines, spirals of color that echo its great journey. For the people, the serpent is more than myth. It is the heartbeat of the land, the guardian of water and life. As you close your eyes tonight, imagine the rainbow serpent rising from the earth, shimmering across the land, rivers sparkling in its wake, mountains glowing under the sun. Hear the soft rush of water, feel the warmth of life returning, and know that balance and beauty are born from respect. The rainbow serpent whispers, "All life is connected, and all must live in harmony." Tiddalik the frog in the thirst of the world long ago. In the Dreamtime, there lived a frog unlike any other. His name was Tiddalik, and he was enormous. His body was as wide as a billabong, and his throat bulged like a waterhole after the rains. But Tiddalik had one flaw: a greed for water. One morning, when the sun rose bright and the sky was clear, Tiddalik awoke with a terrible thirst. He hopped to the river and drank, and drank, and drank. The more he swallowed, the more he wanted. He drank until the riverbeds cracked, the billabongs dried, and the clouds above grew empty. Still he drank, until every drop of water in the land was gone. The earth grew silent. Fish gasped in the mud, trees sagged, and animals stumbled in the heat. Without water, life itself was fading. The creatures gathered in fear and despair. Something had to be done, for unless Tiddalik released the water, all would perish. The elders remembered a law of nature: what goes in must come out. If they could make Tiddalik laugh, the water would burst from his belly and return to the land. But how could such a greedy frog be made to laugh? One by one, the animals tried. The emu strutted and flapped, kicking up dust. The kangaroo bounded in circles, thumping his tail with pride. The kookaburra chuckled, its call echoing through the dry trees. But Tiddalik sat still, his throat swollen with water, his eyes heavy and stubborn. Then came the eel wriggling across the cracked ground. It twisted into loops, bent itself into knots, and wriggled in the silliest shapes. At last, Tiddalik's great belly shook. His mouth stretched wide, and a booming laugh erupted. From his throat poured torrents of water, rushing like floods across the land. The rivers filled once more. Billabongs brimmed, and clouds burst into rain. Fish swam, trees drank deeply, and the animals danced in the pools of life. The land was saved, and balance restored. But the animals never forgot the lesson of Tiddalik. Greed, even for something as precious as water, can bring ruin. And laughter, though small, can heal and renew. To this day, when frogs croak after rain, people remember the great frog who once drank the world dry, and the eel who made him laugh. This story is not only a tale but a teaching. It reminds us to share what we have, to take only what we need, and to find joy even in hardship. For just as water flows, so too must kindness and balance flow among all living things. As you drift into dreams tonight, imagine standing on the riverbank as the waters return, sparkling under the sun. Hear Tiddalik's booming laugh echo through the valleys, and see the animals rejoicing as life is renewed. The earth whispers, laughter can bring back the rain, and balance can restore the world.